As pressure and threats from Washington piled up on Tehran, Moscow quietly moved in the shadows, funneling a staggering $2.5 billion in hard cash directly into Iran's central bank to help the regime stay afloat. Leaked customs and trade documents reveal that a Russian state-owned lender covertly shipped close to $2.5 billion in physical banknotes to Iran back in 2018, using a dense web of rail and sea routes to mask the true scale of the operation. Those bulk deliveries of banknotes started just days after then US President Donald Trump reimposed tough sanctions on Tehran, suggesting the cash pipeline was designed as an immediate financial lifeline in direct response to Washington's squeeze. During his first term in office, President Trump rolled out a sweeping sanctions campaign against Iran, targeting its banking, energy, and shipping sectors in an effort to choke off revenue and isolate the Islamic Republic from the global economy. This clandestine river of money underscores a sanctions-busting partnership between Vladimir Putin and Iran's ruling establishment, with both sides using cash and off-grid routes to keep Tehran's finances alive despite layers of Western restrictions. The documents name Promsvyazbank, a Kremlin-controlled bank tasked with handling Russia's defense and sanctions workarounds, as the institution that shipped nearly 5 tons of banknotes in dozens of consignments straight to Iran's central bank in Tehran. In 2018, Russia's state-owned Promsvyazbank is reported to have operated a clandestine cash pipeline directly linking Moscow's financial system to Iran's central bank. Across the operation, almost 5 tons of foreign banknotes were physically transported into Tehran, representing an extraordinary volume of off-the-books liquidity. The network relied on 34 separate covert consignments sent over a span of roughly 4 months, indicating a sustained and carefully choreographed cash flow. Individual shipments were reportedly valued between $57 million and $115 million, making every load a significant injection of hard currency. The first known consignment is dated August 13, 2018, marking the formal start of what appears to have been a rapid response cash operation. That initial shipment left just 7 days after US sanctions on Iran were reimposed, strongly suggesting a direct reaction to Washington's renewed pressure. The suspected route sent cash by rail to Astrakhan, then by ship across the Caspian Sea to Iran's Amrabad port, and finally by rail again into Tehran. Open-source trade and customs records are said to align with these movements, reinforcing the claim that the consignments involved physical banknotes, not just paper transactions. Analysts believe the money was largely carried in high-denomination €500 notes, allowing huge value to be moved in relatively compact loads. Although denominated mostly in euros, the shipments were formally recorded with their value stated in US dollars, helping standardize the sums on trade filings. Taken together, the structure points to an operation designed both to help Iran evade sanctions and to bolster its access to hard currency outside normal banking channels. Analysts argue that Moscow funneled covert cash to Tehran to help buttress Iran's ruling establishment at a moment of mounting economic unrest, effectively giving the regime more breathing room as it pushed back against street protests and social anger. Specialists note that instead of wading into open wars, the Kremlin often chooses a subtler playbook, quietly sustaining friendly regimes with financial lifelines, credit, and cash rather than overt military deployments that invite global backlash. One regional analyst suggested these payments were probably made out of sheer desperation, a last-ditch effort by Moscow to stop a crucial ally from tipping into economic collapse and political chaos that could upend shared interests. Another expert argued that relying on physical cash was a logical workaround, because both Russia and Iran were being rapidly cut off from normal banking channels and hammered by harsh financial sanctions that made digital transfers too risky. A former aide to a US envoy on Iran warned that such funds could easily be diverted to pay for advanced missile systems, munitions, and other weapons purchases, bolstering Tehran's military capabilities beyond what sanctions were meant to allow. Other commentators have speculated that at least part of the money likely flowed into Revolutionary Guard, linked networks and hard security institutions, reinforcing the very coercive organs that defend the regime at home and project power abroad. All this unfolds against the backdrop of Iran supplying Russia with Shahd-136 attack drones and Fath-360 missiles, deepening a hard power partnership where money, weapons, and battlefield support now move in both directions. After a 2017 takeover, Promsvyazbank was reshaped into a specialized state vehicle tasked with handling defense sector finances and helping Russia work around tightening Western sanctions. Russia's central bank publicly framed the revamped lender as a key financial backbone for the country's military-industrial complex, channeling funds and services to defense companies and security structures. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, both Promsvyazbank and its top executives, including Dmitry Fradkov, were targeted by Western sanctions that sought to cut them off from global finance. Some reports allege the bank later became involved in schemes issuing imitation banknotes linked to a ruble-denominated stablecoin, blurring the line between traditional cash operations and experimental sanction-busting financial instruments. Human rights monitors now estimate that more than 6,000 people were killed in Iran's latest protest crackdown, painting a picture of an extraordinarily bloody campaign of repression by the regime. Analysts describe the recent unrest as the most serious challenge to Iran's leadership in decades, so dramatic that rumors even circulated about Ayatollah Khamenei potentially fleeing to Moscow if the situation spiraled out of control. Commentators argue that Vladimir Putin views the possible collapse of Iran's regime as a huge geopolitical setback that would hurt Russia's oil leverage and regional influence, giving him strong incentives to spend money to keep Tehran afloat. One expert quoted in reports said that using physical cash gives Moscow almost impossible to trace leverage over Iran's leaders, and suggested the Kremlin is likely sending even more money today than what has been publicly documented so far. A former US official familiar with Iran policy said that discreet Russian financial support to stabilize Iran's economy completely fits the pattern of their evolving alliance, where both regimes trade economic lifelines, weapons, and diplomatic cover.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.